Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's section. Today, we are going to do an introduction of business consulting. So let's get started. So there are three important agenda items for today. First, we'll talk about what is consulting. We'll define its major role, and then highlight the important stakeholder involved. Then we will highlight the skill sets that are necessary for business consultant to carry their jobs. And we'll conclude with 5 different phases and quickly highlight some key activity that business consultant need to go through whenever they engage with clients. So let's get started. What is consulting? Well, if we this is a fun comic strip from Dilbert, and so let's take a quick look. At first, the consultant said, and and that's why I recommend it. Then the client said, I reject your recommendation, but because it doesn't match what we already decide to do. Then the consultant said, there's no way to run a business. Then the client responded, can you refer me to a less judging consultant? So this funny comedy strip really highlight the essence of business consultant or consultant of any kind. So the main primary purpose for consultant is to convince their clients a potential solution that will help them to improve business efficiency or effectiveness. So that's really the overall gist of business consulting. Oftentimes, a consultant is a person who may have some influence over a client, and such client could be an individual, a group, or an organization, or even communities. However, the tricky part about being a consultant is that such consultants often do not have direct power to make change or to implement programs for that corresponding person, group, or organizations. Simply put, they are someone who are hired to provide opinions and recommendations, but whether the organization, the individual, the clients would agree or not, that's a totally different point. And a consultant often will deal with clients and who simply represent the recipient of these business advices. And they are the direct subject for those consultants who want to influence. There are various reasons why organizations want to bring a consultant for their advice. One of the most common reason is because they want to make change that will result in a better performance outcome for the firms. Sometimes organizations may bring a consultant simply because they feel that's a best way to implement or even talk about potential changes, because it's very difficult to conduct effective organization change. Oftentimes, existing manager may be quite resistant to new way of doing things. But however, when you bring external experts, you often will be able to expedite such process. And those consulting clients often would be a manager who of corporations who will have more direct responsibility of their actions. Sometimes consultant may take over part of the manager's role if the consultant actually are deeply involved with the implementation of their recommendations. But oftentimes that rarely happens. In terms of relevant skill sets, overall, there are three important skill sets. The first one is technical knowledge and skill set. Technical knowledge skill set often will be very important because those represent specialized knowledge, skills, and abilities that consultant might possess. Without these specialized knowledge, skills, and abilities, you really could not bring in any values to the business, right? For example, this can be any type of specialized knowledge, skills, or abilities, such as in engineering, in marketing, accounting, human resource, information technology, or even management, etc. Right? This technical skills are important simply because it allow you to have a more uh, detailed, better ideas on how to solve the related problem set that organization may not have the same technical capabilities to do so. So that's why business consultant often will be an expert of some type. They will be able to provide the latest model, latest framework, or latest knowledge in a particular areas and help organization to improve their business function or their products, for example, in order to boost the long-term uh, firm performance. All right. So technical skill is an important skill that a business consultant need to have before actually going to the consulting industry. That's why if you look at most of the consultants, they often will be the expertise in a particular areas. That's why also another reason why many of the consulting firm they actually hire people with STEM degree because those individuals with STEM degree they have specialized knowledge in a various focus areas, and those knowledge often will help startup large corporation to figure out to better utilize these specific knowledge to help them to improve their firm performance. Another important relevant skill set is the so-called people skills. Right? These skill set will enable you to better understand, communicate, interact, and relate with other people. Ultimately, consult the job of being a business consultant is understand the problem areas. In order to understand the specific problem area and come up with a useful recommendation, it's very important for you to work with others, right? Work with your clients, their customers, their suppliers, their employees, etc. If you are unable to understand, communicate, extract information from all these stakeholders, then this would be very difficult for you to collect useful data that will help you to analyze the situation, right? So people skill is often considered very important. So there are even there's a huge industry helping various folks to improve their people skills a bit. So if you are interested, be sure to look into those industry to figure out how to get a better ability to communicate, understand, and emphasize with others, and acquire the ability to interact with others and develop productive working relationship instead of creating conflicts and reducing support, right? And most importantly, these people skill will enable you to build sincerity and trust. So when you interact, when you gather information from your clients and their relevant stakeholders, they will be able to provide you with the most accurate information and also be willing to share with any difficulty they may have with the problem set. However, both technical skills and personal appeal skills won't be the primary focus of this course. Instead, what this course is about is to highlight the consulting skills, right? Overall, there are five different phases that consultant will go through, and each phases will require a different skill set. So we're just going to briefly discuss these necessary consulting skills, and in the subsequent lecture, we will dive into these skill set within each phases and spend a good amount of time elaborating what these skill set are. So let's look at the first consulting phase. Phase one, entry and contracting. So this phase simply represents the initial contact with a client. Right? Oftentimes, there are number of possible activities that are required before you actually set up a consulting project. This involves setting up initial meetings, exploring and discussing the problem areas, and understand the client's expectations. All these really will help you to not only gain a better understanding of the consulting problem areas, it also will help you to better determine whether there's a strong fit between the client and the consultant. That is actually quite important. You because you do not want to be in a situation where you do not have the technical expertise for the problem area that the clients wish to get solution for. For example, if you have a very strong human resource knowledge, skills, and capabilities, yet the client's problem areas focus on really on marketing, then during the initial entry and contracting phase, you should immediately pick that up and actually reject this potential consulting gig. Because if you do take such consulting gig, then most likely you will fail miserably because you simply don't have the technical skill that will allow you to solve your client's problems, right? And this may reoccur even at on a fairly regular basis, even within the when this consulting project has started, because sometimes when major change is needed, or if the project has been completed, then it requires you to restart this entry and contracting phase. And this is also the phase where you will need to create an engagement letter, a letter that will enable you to develop a clear understanding of what is expected from the clients, from you, and what's expected from the clients. So client often will need to provide a corresponding resources, right? Like human resource, financial resource, or even consumer data. Without those data, it would be very difficult for you as a consultant to address the problem areas. On the other hand, it's also important for the consultant to highlight what their core responsibility is in such engagement letters. The beauty of finalizing the engagement letters and have both parties agree on such contract is that both consultant and clients will have a better understanding of what to expect. Then the next phase is phase two, the discovery phase. Basically, in this process, so Facebook is really about discovering what the problem is. And develop a better understanding of clients' ability, capability, and resource that will allow them to address some of these issues. So some important question to ask at this phase is who is the main stakeholder that will help define the problems. Oftentimes, you need to get the buy-in of these main stakeholders in order to ensure the change that you hope to implement it will be supported. Those stakeholders will also have better information on what the specific problems could be and the potential source for solutions. Another important thing you will need to focus or discover would be what method would be used. This could be method for data collections, method for implementing your solutions. So it is important in this phase of sense making the problems that you would need to figure out your approach, whether to use the traditional field survey approach or whether you do a more qualitative study such as interviews and or focus groups. And the third important question you need to ask yourself in this phase is what data should be collected and from whom? The type of data and the source of data will matter as well, especially when the type of solutions you want to derive will really depends on what type of data are available and the quantity of data as well. And finally, in this stage, you also want to determine how long is the project duration really, making sure there will be realistic expectation and accomplishment that can be done in this time period. And there are also phase three involve the analysis and decision. Based on the information that you have collected in phase two, phase three is really when you will have to carefully analyze all this information you have gathered that address that were used that so you can address these questions carefully. A few important items would be you need to determine how much involved the clients would be in terms of this information analysis process. Because oftentimes, clients would be biased. They may already have some preliminary solutions they wish to implement it. So that's why it's important for you to, if that's the case, their subjective evaluation of the situation may bias you from coming out with the objective and optimal recommendation for this situation. So, but ultimately, you will need to determine how much involved the client would be in this process. Another important key things to consider is the change management process. So let you really need to understand the organization structure, who the organization key stakeholders are, who would be the power uh, uh, members who will make the ultimate decision, and who would be the supporter of such implementation. By anticipating these organization structure and stakeholders, it will help you to better facilitate such implementation, making sure that change management will be carefully monitored. Because change is hard for anyone. It's more difficult if the organization does not have a culture that's open for change, right? And another important component is for you to identify the project goals and the actual steps for implementation, right? So most of the time, consultant will feel they only need to do the first three phases, especially when you talk to new consultants or people who have not done the consulting uh, test before. But the reality is that there are additional phase that consultant will need to be involved, and that's phase 4 and phase 5. So phase 4 simply highlight the process involved with engagement and implementations. So this at this stage, you need to help your clients to implement your recommendations. And oftentimes some consultant will not be responsible for this implementation process. However, consultant will need to help in terms of providing the corresponding training section or educational events to ensure that other stakeholders who were not involved in the consultant-client relationship are fully aware of how the recommendation was derived and why and the underlying logic of making such recommendation. Overall, you really need to help to ensure there's a strong buy-in from most individual stakeholders within an organization. That's why phase 4 is also important. Although you being a consultant, you won't be responsible for this implementation, but it's essential for you to help and ensure these recommendation will be implemented rather successfully. Because otherwise, your reputation would be on the line. And if the whole implementation process fell through, uh, it's likely the consultant will take some of the responsibility as well. And finally, the last phase, phase 5, is extension, recycle, or termination. Basically, it, the important takeaway of the project, right? So this is when the consultant and the client will need to decide whether to extend the process to a larger segment of the organization or not. Oftentimes, especially for large corporations, consultant will be brought in to provide recommendation for a particular business unit. If things goes well, and if the upper managers like what your recommendation and the whole implementation process, they may want to extend similar implementation to overall organization units. And that's when you may need to restart the 5 phases again, back to phase 1, and engage with other stakeholders in other business unit. And there's possibility that in the implementation process something may gone wrong or something may not be implemented in a very successful manner. So that's when you need to set a new contract when undetected issue emerge. Uh, then maybe you have to again back to phase 1 of the project and collect additional data, figure out what maybe there are additional recommendation that will need to formulate it. And finally, if the implementation was a huge success or complete failures, then the clients will ultimately want to determine want to terminate such project, right? So throughout this course, we will spend good amount of time talking about the corresponding skill set and process involved with these 5 phases, right? And that's it for today's lecture. Thanks so much.